flowed through the agency every year, and in Mississippi, the governor selected the head of DHS. Governor Bryant said the informant had approached his office demanding a meeting. The informant brought a short, one-page document he called an internal audit. As the governor described the contents of the document, I could tell the allegations were serious. They involved corruption by DHS's director. The phone crackled when Governor Bryant reached the meat of the allegations. I looked up to see that our Jeep was passing through Alabama's George Wallace Tunnel, a thick white ceramic tile passage taking cars under the Mobile River, and the cell phone connection dropped. The pressure change inside the tunnel turned the rumbling sound of the traffic into a quiet whoosh. As a kid, my parents and I would hold our breath when we were passing through, seeing if we could make it to the other side without exhaling. Now the air in my lungs felt bottled up against my will. "Put the phone down while you're driving," my wife said. "Sorry, this one is important," I replied. I redialed Bryant once we emerged from under the river, the gray battleship USS Alabama greeting us from the harbor outside the tunnel's mouth. Bryant picked up and finished the story. His informant claimed there was a kickback scheme involving DHS Director John Davis. Looks like Davis is paying some vendor, Restore LLC, for some kind of contract. The checks for the company are going back to a P.O. box owned by Davis in his hometown, said Bryant. Doesn't look good. DHS had paid a few $1,000s in 2019 to a company called Restore LLC. It was alarming to see a contractor to an agency being paid at a post office box owned by the head of that agency. But if Davis wanted a kickback for giving Restore an agency contract, why set up a P.O. box in his own name to receive the checks? It seemed like a careless paper trail to leave. Why not be paid in cash? Cash payments make kickback schemes hard to detect. Why wouldn't Davis just steal the checks from the office, I wondered aloud. Save the trouble of mailing them. As DHS director, Davis would have access to every physical space in his agency and could have easily put his hands on the checks before they were mailed. And why have physical checks sent to yourself if you can't deposit them? Sounds like the checks are made out to Restore, whoever that is. Regardless of the questions, I agreed with the governor that the situation was suspicious. Bryant closed the call by expressing concern for Davis. Davis was an odd man. As our Jeep zoomed over marshy tidelands, shoots of green springing from the water, I reflected on our first encounter just a few months earlier. At the time, DHS's financial records were unclear and scant. My staff was concerned about how DHS was handling welfare money. The staff suggested that I talk to Davis and recommend he hire an outside CPA firm to do a dollar-by-dollar audit of their TANF spending. My auditors thought we did not have the staff on hand to do this ourselves, but they assured me that Davis could pay for an outside audit from his ample budget. I'd called Davis, set a time for the meeting, and driven to his office alone. The office's appearance surprised me. DHS had taken over a lease previously held by one of Mississippi's wealthier law firms. The wall paneling and advanced security system were unlike anything I'd seen in any other state government office. I would later find out that back in Davis's private office, he'd purchased a couch for tens of thousands of dollars and worked at an Italian desk. Plans were in the works to install high-tech glass walls that frosted when you touched them. At one point, they even intended to build a shower in Davis's office that could be entered from either his office or the office next door, which seemed beyond strange. It didn't fit, knowing that DHS's mission was to serve the poor. Davis's demeanor also struck me. He was a career DHS employee who'd advanced from small-town social worker to the boss, now a paunchy balding man with a penchant for flashy ties and decor. With his thick southern accent, he slathered on praise, flattering me to the point of making me uncomfortable. Davis had a team ready to meet me when I entered his conference room. He did everything to signal he was eager to listen and take any recommendations I had. I walked him through why he should contract for a private audit of his books. He agreed on the spot. DHS would hire a CPA firm to take a look at how they'd spent their TANF dollars. They would ensure they were complying with all the relevant laws, he said. That audit never happened. And now, a few months later, driving away from the Alabama sunset into Florida, I was told Davis might have stolen some of that money. Governor Bryant was worried that if Davis had indeed stolen money and realized an informant squealed, he might stick a pistol in his mouth over the weekend. I shared that concern.